Hello book friends, welcome back to Coffee Over Apples. My name is Steph. This is the video that comes before the best books of the year. This is the worst and or most disappointing books of 2021.
It could change the world.
I'm gonna have read well over 120 books this year, and to say that it was a little challenging for me to come up with a full list of 10 disappointing books is pretty good, I would say. Some of these I've done rant reviews for, so they're not a surprise if you've been following me up to this point. If you're not, by the way, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. Thanks so much for supporting my channel. And if any of these are your favorite, please know that you still matter to me, and this is not personally against you if you love these books. That doesn't mean that everything works for everybody, and it's okay that some of these did not work for me or that they served a purpose at the time that they came out. So with those little caveats in mind, let's go ahead and get started with the list. The first half of this list is more books that were just disappointing, and this is coming from a personal place of preference and taste. And the second half of the list are books that I seriously took issue with. Yeah, just take my opinion with a grain of salt. I'm gonna just be Salt Bae for a second. Book number 10 on this list, only slightly disappointing and might be a shock because one, I unhauled it recently, and two, I actually rated this fairly decently high. Binti. The reason that Binti is on this list is because I felt underwhelmed. Even though I gave book 1 4 stars and I gave book 2 3 stars, I've at this point kind of decided that I'm going to DNF the series. Even though there's only one more novella, I'm just not compelled to pick it up. I feel like it's interesting and that it's important, but from a place of personal taste, things were just way too convenient. Even though there were answers to some of the questions that me and a couple other book friends posed when we first read Binti in the summertime, they weren't amazing answers, they were just answers. And so it's not that Binti's bad. Binti is actually really good, and I suggest that other people do pick it up, especially if you're looking for a science fiction that is from a author that is a person of color. However, personally, I was underwhelmed, and so I would say that this is, while still good, there's the reason it's number 10 is because it didn't blow me away like I was kind of expecting it to. Number 9 on this list is disappointing, and it hurts me to say this. It really hurts. Okay, hear me out. I'm really sorry. This book was gifted to me so kindly by the authors, who are amazing people. Love you guys. However, this book, again, it was a taste thing. I would recommend this book, and I will recommend this book later on when I start to do more recommendation videos, to people who are trying to get into sci-fi from fantasy. Like, if sci-fi is a genre that you're not really well versed in and you're trying to stick your big toe into sci-fi but you're not sure exactly how, this is a great place for you to start. However, for me, who is a, I feel like safe to say, fairly heavy sci-fi reader and entertainment consumer, that this missed the mark for me. I ended up rating this a 2-star because of how underwhelmed I was. But again, that's coming from a place of, I'm an experienced sci-fi reader who had a very high expectation, and while this didn't meet that bar for me, I could see this meeting the bar for other people. It gets kind of dark. It's very actiony. The action is done really well. You might really enjoy the cast of characters if you're a character-driven reader who enjoys like captains and everyone's got a designated role, whether it be the warrior or the investigator or the captain or like the pilot or whatever. Not for me. Definitely could be for someone else. Book number 8, I also recently unhauled. An Ember in the Ashes. I read this as one of the hosts for the Ember in the Ashalong earlier this year. And I DNF'd it. Don't hate me. This is a very popular YA dystopian fantasy, but I was bored and I predicted things and it was very trope heavy. I just didn't care about any of the characters. That's really it. Again, this is a taste thing. Disappointment for me, but maybe not for you. If you haven't read it, you might like it. Things were just very convenient, in my opinion, and I wasn't really a fan of the writing. Tried it in audio, didn't work for me either. I just DNF'd it at booktube because I couldn't do it anymore, and I'm getting better at self-care, which DNFing is self-care. I don't know. It has a pretty big following already. I don't think I need to defend this book. If you haven't read it, and you enjoy fantasy, you enjoy YA fantasy, go ahead and pick this up. You might love it. If your taste is similar to mine, maybe not. Book number 7, I was pretty hyped about, so when I gave this 2 stars, man, I was pretty sad. Nothing But Blackened Teeth by Cassandra Shaw. Read this as an ARC. Novella, ghosts, horror, gothic setting, Japanese mansion, a little gore, you know, sounds great, sounds right up my alley. It's giving me the Grudge kind of vibes. It's had the perfect setup, and then it just did not deliver. Here's the thing, the ending was underwhelming. It wrapped up way too quick. It was way too convenient. We had characters who were logical. You know, they said the right thing. They were like, hey, we should not do that thing. But guess what they did? That thing. Why? Because it's a horror? Not good enough reason. Not a good enough reason at all. Yeah. So, I also, you know, even though I'm not really a character-driven reader, I still have the ability to really care about characters, but the setup as to why these characters were here, I don't care about drama. I was never really into, like, TV shows where a whole bunch of characters, a cast of people live in a house together that just would never in a million years be together, stuck in a house, but now they're on a reality TV show. What was that show that was on MTV a long time ago? Yeah, I'm not into that kind of stuff. Maybe, if you like that kind of stuff, the setup will work for you. But it didn't work for me. Book number 6. Again, please don't leave. I'll be the one. Alright, if you know me, you know that I love K-pop. However, this did not deliver. Here's the reason why I personally didn't like it. Even though I think it has a strong fan base, and I was not the audience for this. I will say this is for a younger K-pop audience. This is for a teenage K-popper who's just started getting into K-pop and is like, again, dipping that big toe into the K-pop industry, understanding what happens when you work with mega corporations. This did not accurately, and when I say accurately, I'm basing this off of the 20 years of following K-pop industry that I have, didn't deliver in accurately depicting what it's like for a K-pop star. Now, it did try to tackle some big issues. It talked about the challenges in dealing with a changing culture from someone coming from Korea that is much more conservative and how the industry is focused on looks and, you know, body shaming, and we have a main character that is a very strong main character. We have different representation in here, which is fantastic. However, for a book that's about K-pop, it barely talked about K-pop. It, like, mentioned BTS quite a few times, which is great, but that's a very, like, mainstream selection of talking about K-pop. Okay, everyone knows BTS. They are the biggest boy band in the world. We love them. However, there are hundreds of K-pop bands. Hundreds. But just to mention the one main band that has kind of, like, become more global very recently is not even skimming the surface of what K-pop is. Because there's so many subgenres of K-pop that branch out into everything else, like K-rap, K-rock, K-techno, just everything. We have a very clear villain, which I don't think was necessary. Like, we could have had villains, and there has to be villains in order to talk about the toxicity within pop stardom, but I don't think that it was handled well at all. Very surface level Hallyu stuff. Very surface level for fans of Hallyu who really just, it did not, no. Things get a lot darker than that, and I was hoping that it would get a lot darker than that, but because it didn't, I feel like it didn't do anything. Things were just too easy. Things were way too easy, and it just, I was highly disappointed with the depth and content that it covered in regards to what actually goes on in the industry, because there's a lot more psychological abuse, there's a lot more fat shaming, there's a lot more toxicity, talking about bulimia, talking about other, like, really triggering things that happen in the industry. There was a lot of convenience, and I just, you might see it as a trend in my disappointment in these books. Convenience. I don't like convenience. Occasional, it has to happen, right? We need a plot to move forward, so if there's convenience, that's fine. To a degree. It's just, I was sad. I was a sad noodle. But going on to book number 5 is a manga. I got some mangas on this list because you guys might know that I'm an active manga reader, so I thought it was safe to include my least favorite mangas on this list as well. I'm sorry. Demon Slayer. Here, listen, I haven't watched the anime yet. I still have high hopes that the anime is going to be amazing. But the manga was way too convenient. Keyword of the day, convenient. And rushed. And anything that sexualizes little kids is a no for me. So sexualizing the little sister, it's not great. But again, I understand that there's cultural differences that, you know, Japan is working through, and we're working on it, right? Not enough explanation as to how characters got to where they did. The length of time was not described because we didn't get enough information to say, okay, it's been this amount of time, this is how our characters have changed or grown, either physically or mentally or skillfully, or when they did change skillfully, whether they leveled up or something. It was just like, wow, look, I leveled up. I'm like, alright, when am I gonna see you struggle? Everything's kind of going really well, even though there's a lot of blood and death and everything. Book number 4 is also a manga, but this one was more specifically for one solid reason. Food Wars. I'm just gonna say one thing about Food Wars. Sexy middle schoolers. That's all you need to know. That is the only reason why I gave this 1 star. Because the way to turn me off, the way to say, Steph, you are going to hate this, is to sexualize 11-year-olds. No. We do not need... No. Number 3. I did a rant review on The Wives by Taryn Fisher. It wasn't a good time. It wasn't a good time. I will leave a link above if you would like to see my entire rant review for this video. I feel like I let everything out in that rant review, so there's not much more for me to say. Because it's kind of like, I like melted all my thoughts out of my brain into that video, and I haven't thought about it since. And I got no thoughts now. Just, no. Book number 2. Here we go. Here we go with the anger. Breathe, Steph. Dune. 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 Did an entire rant review for this too. 40-minute video. 40-minute rant vlog. And I don't want to talk about it anymore, but I will say, I do not think that the ideas in Dune, which were phenomenal ideas by the way, that were genre changing, that were significant to the culture of science fiction, were not enough to withstand the blatant homophobia and misogyny that is rampant within Dune. It's not enough. It's not enough. It's not enough for me. It's not enough for me to continue. I will probably at some point just watch someone's description video and tell me what happens in the rest of Dune, because I don't care. And if you want a full in-depth reason as to why I didn't like it, here's the link. Last, and just last, is Dead Until Dark. Suki Stackhouse, Book 1, True Blood. It's been 11 months. It's been a very long 11 months. I still haven't filmed my rant review for this because the anger that I feel in my heart at this book, and I know that a lot of people love it. If you love it, I'm so happy. Do you see how happy I am? It hurts. It hurts how much I despise this book, because this is probably one of the most racist things that I've ever read. It was so racist. And if it takes me a full year to get to making a rant review, just know that my words are honest and they come from the bottom of my heart. I will say this now, and I'll say it again in that video. There is nothing sexy about dating a vampire that is a non-reformed white supremacist Confederate soldier. Nothing. Absolutely none. But that's just my taste. I'll put it this way. I'll put it this way, and then I'll just end it there. I made a tally sheet in the back of that book. I write notes in the back of books that I annotate, and I had 2 tallies going on. 1 for the amount of times that there was blatant racism, and 2 for the amount of times that there was any kind of woman hate or misogyny going on. I had 13 incidences of racism in that one book, and 9 incidences of misogyny. Need I say more? Need I say more? If you don't know what I'm talking about and you love that book, please just wait patiently for me to make that video, because I promise, if you missed it when I pointed out, you'll probably go, oh, just wait. That is for another day. If you feel similarly to me about any of these books, please let me know in the comments below. If you love any of these books, please forgive me. And I post videos every week, and I'll see you later. Bye!
What's it making, Mr. Wonka? Mr. Wonka worked the factory.